Hey everybody. First of all, I hope you had a great Valentine's Day. I hope you had an awesome holiday weekend. Second of all, there are a few things that I wanted to talk about this week. Some of the interesting current events that are going on with the federal government. Some things I think people should know, and I think really is not necessarily being talked about enough. And there's also more of a cultural issue that I've noticed lately. I actually find it pretty deeply concerning. I think it's something that we need to find a way to kind of move past, or it's going to have pretty dire consequences down the road. I want to go ahead and tackle this cultural issue that I've been seeing lately. I am, as you guys know, a centrist. I'm not a Republican. I am not a Democrat. I would say I maybe lean slightly more conservative, but honestly, I really find myself smack dab in the middle most of the time. And unfortunately, lately, because of that, and because I have some, in my opinion, pretty valid criticisms of the Trump regime right now, I am unable to discuss politics with most of the right. Anytime I have any kind of criticism, any kind of judgment, any kind of analysis, really, of what Trump is doing in the White House, I am immediately accused of having Trump derangement syndrome and being a wacky leftist, crazy person, and usually called stupid. Unfortunately, that means that I'm just not able to get too many right wing opinions nowadays. It's really unfortunate. And this sort of thing happened a lot on the left. It used to be that if you had a criticism of, the Biden administration, you would get called Trumpist, a MAGAT, or just racist or whatever. And nowadays, the table has absolutely turned in the complete opposite direction. I have a couple of concerns about this. First of all, with any social media site you go on, so I'm talking Facebook, I'm talking Instagram, X, Twitter, websites like Reddit, they are designed to show you stuff that you interact with most. And that, typically speaking, is going to fall into one of two categories. It's going to be either rage bait, or it's going to be stuff that you agree with already. Rage bait is stuff that is, it can be a variety of things. It can be some infuriating video or post. It can be something that is obviously factually incorrect. It can be anything basically designed to get you to respond. It's just trying to bait you into a response, a negative comment, a thumbs down, angry emoji reaction, whatever you want. And it does that because if you're reacting to something, it means you're using the website. It means you're being an active member. And that's how they sell ad revenue, basically. The other thing is, again, stuff that you agree with. So anytime you like a post, anytime you comment on a post, anything like that, it's going to keep showing you more posts like that. And that means that eventually, normally speaking, if you use these websites and apps as they are designed, it's going to eventually devolve into a bubble. You're only going to be surrounded by either obvious, like, straw man idiots, basically, who are doing posts that are completely wrong and making you think that that's how the other guy acts and thinks all the time. Or you're going to be seeing posts that are just people saying things that you already agree with. And you're going to think that everybody thinks that way because that's what you're seeing all the time. So the way to get through this is, first of all, if you're on any of these websites, you can usually kind of reset the algorithm in some way and start seeing more neutral posts. But second of all, it's usually to try and surround yourself with different forms of media. So, personally, myself, I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I make sure that I listen to podcasts that are more left leaning and more right leaning because I want to get different perspectives. And in the past, I usually was able to go online and have conversations with people on the left and on the right. And again, before in the past, sometimes you would just get shut down. If you were a conservative person and you were trying to have a conversation in a more left leaning area of the internet, they would frequently ban you. But there definitely were pockets where you could just communicate and talk and have a good discussion. And unfortunately, like I said, the table has completely flipped. So nowadays, I am not able to even have a meaningful conversation with anybody who is MAGA. And I do want to distinguish between MAGA and conservative. There are still areas where you can go talk to conservative people who do not support Trump. But I'm really interested in getting the perspective of people who do support this regime. I want to understand, because to me right now, he's doing so many things that are blatantly illegal, blatantly bad for the country. I really can't even wrap my head around a bunch of this stuff, and I'm trying to find out if there are people who can. I want to know, are you guys seeing this issue too? When you go and try and talk to people who have different opinions than you, are you getting shut down immediately? Are you getting banned from, what should be pretty neutral talking places? Because I'm experiencing that a lot lately, and I find it really worrisome. If you can't get dialogue going on between people who disagree civilly, then the only thing that's going to be left are people who disagree uncivilly, or people who don't even communicate with the other side at all. And that's going to lead to this huge divide, which it already has, frankly. But that divide is only going to get worse if we can't find a way to communicate. So I guess this week, if you want to take away a lesson from this video, it's reach out to somebody who you disagree with strongly and see if you can just have a civil conversation with them about something that you disagree with. I think this is especially important in politics, but honestly, I think it's important in every facet of your life. You need to be able to hear things that you disagree with. You need to be able to defend why you think what you think. Otherwise, you really have no grounding, you have no basis for it. You're brainwashed. So, that was the first issue I just wanted to cover. It's just something that I've been seeing a ton lately, ever since this new administration has come in. I really can't ever even levy any kind of criticism at Trump without being immediately accused of not knowing what I'm talking about and shut down. It's just personally really, really frustrating. Okay, so the second thing that I wanted to talk about is some of this current news that's happening. There are two things in particular. And first, just to get this out of the way, it's short and sweet. Trump tweeted a Napoleon Bonaparte quote. He was saying that if you are doing something in the service of your country, it's not illegal. And I find that deeply concerning. I would hope that most people would too. The thing you have to consider is most people, the vast majority of people, are basically heroes in their own eyes. People tend to think they're doing the right thing most of the time. I mean, think of the absolute worst dictators in history. And I guarantee you, at some point, each and every one of them thought that they were saving their country. They were doing the right thing. So when he says something like, if you're trying to save your country, it's not illegal, it's concerning to me. He's already doing things that are blatantly illegal. Judges have already frozen a bunch of his executive orders because they're not legal, they're unconstitutional. And if he decides that he's the executive and he's the one who controls the military and he's the one who has all of the power so he can just do whatever he wants, then that's concerning. And frankly, in some ways, he might be right. Judges don't have the power to go up to him and slap handcuffs on him. They just don't. So we have to make sure that we let our representatives know this is not okay. I'm going to be writing letters to my representatives this week myself. I don't know if it's going to do any good. I don't think one voice is going to be enough. But this phrase has been bouncing around in my head for weeks now. And it started out as this almost silent prayer, and it's turned into this cacophony that I cannot get out of my head. The righteous anger of one man will never be enough, but it could be the spark that lights the world on fire. Please consider, if you find some of this stuff as outrageous as I do, writing a letter to your congressman, writing a letter to your senator. There are protests going on almost a weekly basis. See if there's any day that lines up with your schedule that you can go join. I mean, really think about how you can be active. It's so important to not just sit on our hands and be frustrated at what's going on. Right now, one of my biggest criticism of the Democrats is the fact that, I mean, they don't have the House, they don't have the Senate, they can't do much. They're voting no on everything. I mean, whatever. But right now, pretty much they're just throwing their hands up in the air and saying, well, the voters, I mean, we don't have the majority. We can't do anything. They can. They can talk about these protests that are going on. They can organize. They can make it clear why what's happening is not normal. And I think that's something we all need to do. If you feel strongly about something, you owe it to yourself to speak out about it. You do not need to slave away in silence over something that you feel passionate about. You don't. And if you get sideways looks, honestly, who cares? The people who are going to abandon you over something that you feel passionate about are not people that you want in your life anyway. There was a federal order given to fire every single federal employee that's on probation. Probation usually lasts 90 days. Sometimes it'll last 180. For the most part, it's only going to be like 3 or 6 months. The federal government is different. That is not how they do things. You're going to be on probation if you have a federal job for either an entire year, or depending on your department, 2 entire years. Some of these people that are being let go are not people who just, showed up, they just got hired, maybe they just joined in December, something like that. No, these are people who have uprooted their lives. They might have bought a house, they might have moved their whole family, and they've been working at this job for a year and a half. I mean, long enough to have a baby, and all of a sudden they're being fired with almost no notice. And that is unconscionable. And it's only happening because Trump, frankly, does not want people working in the government that he didn't hire. But here's the other issue I think is getting overlooked a lot right now. I haven't heard too many people talking about this. Probationary employees are not just employees who have only been there a year or 2 years. If you accept a promotion in the government and you are moved to a new pay scale, you are under probation. So that means that essentially, Trump has decided that instead of clearing out the swamp by firing some of these federal employees who have been there a decade, 2 decades, and are just sitting on their hands, or people who just kind of don't do a good job. Maybe there are other people who basically do the same thing already, or maybe their job could easily be replaced by AI. He just waved his magic wand and got rid of the new people who are going to be passionate about the job, and in many cases younger, and people who are so good at their job that they got a promotion. This is so completely backwards. And that's the thing I think that frustrates me above all else regarding this stuff. I am all for ending government waste, 100%. I don't think you will find a single person in this country who doesn't want to end government waste. And we can all agree there is a ton of it. And if what they were doing was maybe in a gray area morally, but was at least accomplishing something really important, I could see why people would be getting behind it. I could see why people were willing to compromise their morals so that they can accomplish something important. I mean, the ends justify the means, right? But what they're doing is wrong, and it's also dumb. They're just going about things in the stupidest way possible. I mean, they fired some of these probationary people working at the NSA, and then they realized, oh my gosh, these are the people in charge of our nuclear arsenal. We can't fire them. After they fired them, they had to go back and scramble and get them back working for them again the same day. They're not even looking at what they're doing. They're just hacking away and hoping everything works out. I mean, this guy's supposed to be a genius, right? What is Elon doing right now? Just to go over the numbers real quick, it's estimated that approximately 200,000 employees were fired this way. We don't have the exact numbers, but it's looking like it's going to be about 200,000. Trump also just met with the Prime Minister of India, Modi, and they had kind of a verbal agreement, a handshake deal to go ahead and increase the amount of H-1B visas coming to the US. So that's foreign people from India in this case coming to the US to work a domestic job here in the US, usually like an engineering job, a coding job, something like that. So 200,000 people are now entering the job hunt. Trump is also going to allow whoever knows how many people from India and other countries to come to the US and take jobs that way. AI is running rampant. We all know that right now. And Trump just announced this Project Stargate deal to give $500 billion to the advancement of AI over the next few years. This doesn't add up. There are not going to be enough jobs. It's happening so quickly, quicker than I could have ever imagined. We are falling off of a cliff and nobody's talking about it. I mean, yes, some people are raising some concerns about the future of AI. It is not the future of AI that you need to worry about. It's right now. It's the year 2025 and millions of people are going to be out of a job because of AI. And this is going to be exponentially increasing over the next decade. We have to come up with a solution. And the solution is clearly not stop AI development. It's too late for that. It's going to happen. If we don't develop AI, then another country will. China's already ahead of us in AI development. We have to catch up to them. The answer is not stopping AI development. I hope the answer is not come up with these dummy, do nothing, fake jobs to just pay people to stand around, basically. A lot of countries have had to embrace that. India, for example, has a lot of basically fake jobs. They hire somebody to stand in an elevator and press the button for you. They literally pay them to stay there because they do not have enough jobs for their billion plus people. I hope that we will have the foresight to understand that we need to develop a social safety net right now for the issues that are going to be arising in just a year or two. Thank you very much for joining me for this episode. I really appreciate you guys watching every week. It really means a lot to hear from you in the comments and see your support. Genuinely, it touches my heart. So thank you very much for that. If you want to join me in the Discord, I've always got a link for that below in the description. And otherwise, I'll see you guys soon. Don't forget, when you change your perspective, the reality changes.